Good morning, folks. Welcome to the Workato Product Hour. Thank you again for joining us. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, we just want to let you know this is a bi-weekly webinar that we host every other Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific. And you can register for the webinar to receive the recordings. If you're not able to attend or are able to attend only part of the webinar, we'll send you the recording the next day. And it's a fairly interactive session, so let's try to keep it that way as we go through the product features, show you the demos. Feel free to ask questions anytime during the demo, and we'll try to answer them then or towards the end of the webinar. So what we will cover today, it's a very interesting topic for us. We are a B2B SaaS company, and a lot of our leads are inbound. I would like to say maybe 70% or so of our leads are inbound. And one of the challenges that we face around managing these leads is how do we get them to our sales team fast so that they can quickly respond to them and convert them into essentially a sales deal or help them answer any questions the person may have if they're inquiring about the product. And over time, like today, I have with me Senrong, who is our enterprise architect. And Senrong and his team have built a large number of automations for our marketing and sales team to get access to these leads really quickly with a lot of interesting data that they find useful to help them in their conversation with the leads. And the second part we'll talk about is as most of you, if you're managing leads for your companies, you'd have whether you use Marketo, HubSpot, or any other marketing automation platform and a CRM like Salesforce, you'd already have some pre-built integrations between those two applications. So we'll visit some of the benefits of out-of-the-box integration, some of the benefits of custom integration, when to choose which one. And the big part of this webinar will go into specific details using a demo. We'll show you how to track your leads in real time, enrich those using third-party tools, your internal data sets, and also how you can set up rules for routing those leads fast to your sales team. And as I mentioned earlier, at any point in time, as you have questions, feel free to ask. So Senrong, welcome to the Product Hour. You have been with the company for 3.5 years, and but this is your first time. I think you're the single biggest user of Workato that I know. So let me ask you this, you have been with the company, and we have automated a lot of things around lead management particularly, but this is not how we started. And as we talk to customers, we see some of the common challenges, as they gather leads from various sources. What are some of the challenges that we came across and what we hear from customers?
So when we first started, we basically had 2 channels, 3 channels, sign-ups, marketplaces, blah. And it was fairly easy to manage at the time. But as we grew, we had more and more channels. So people wanted to have forms for people to request for demos or to go for events, start some trade show booths, and then start some webinars to get leads. Even partners started coming in with leads. So that became more and more complicated as we grew up over the years. And duplicates of the same person got fairly common. So because a person can come in from multiple channels, and you must know that this is the same person, otherwise you're going to get this situation where a sales rep reaches out to this person first, and then another sales rep gets this person's lead, and then reaches out again at roughly around the same time. So that kind of creates confusion and a very bad customer experience.
Right. Yeah, I think duplicates is a very common problem. And but the other thing is we added different channels, and I work in marketing, I know this for a fact, that as we create different forms, like whether it's for or an ebook download or for a webinar like Product Hour, and when people come in and trade shows, the information we collect across these channels is not consistent either.
Yeah, so for example, there's this constant tussle with marketing as to how much data should we collect on a form on the website. So marketing wants it as simple and concise as possible, but we want it, or sales wants it as comprehensive as possible.
Right.
So we come down to this compromise where we will ask for the email name, use case, and phone number of a person on the website, and that's it. But in a trade show, you get something else. So when you get a lead scanner, sometimes you get names, emails, most of the time, and a company name. Some trade shows give you titles, some trade shows give you addresses, but not all of them give the same stuff. So that becomes a problem when you're trying to merge the leads because you don't really know what you get from a certain source. And what you get from one source will definitely differ from another source.
Right. And and again, like if you, there's also like even when I enter something, I may have misspelled, there may be typos, right? So so those are like the bad data is also a big issue for us to.
Yeah, and especially at trade shows, when people are booking meetings on the floor and they are really busy with so many people swarming them, they kind of sometimes type in the wrong stuff, like truncated use cases or like names that are misspelled.
Right.
And you have to clean the data afterwards.
So I mean, you very rightly put, like from a marketing standpoint, okay, how do I get this lead faster and enter this into the system? From a sales standpoint, hey, we need a lot of information before we have a meaningful conversation with the lead. So I think you have built some really fascinating stuff. So we'll go through the details. But if we can go to the next slide, this is what I know, like where our data lives, right? Once these leads come in, whether they come through trade shows, signups, or requests for demo, or like attending webinars or downloading ebooks, they flow into different parts of our system. And like as a customer, right, like they could even talk to our CS team on intercom, right? They could be creating a ticket on Freshdesk. They could be using our product. And so as you're talking about, the sales team needs to be aware of all this information when they have a conversation with the customer prospect, right? So is this typically how companies manage their data, like the lead data specifically, like what goes into Salesforce, what goes into Marketo?
So what we've seen is that usually companies will save like sales data in Salesforce, and then marketing data, so like campaigns, program attribution, lead sources in Marketo, and try to sync it over Salesforce. You then have the customer success platforms where you handle all the chats, the tickets, all the issues and support problems that the customer has. And they're typically separate systems. Most of the time, I don't see people using Salesforce for that. And finance is another one. Financial systems will most of the time never go into Salesforce because they are very confidential information that you don't want most people in the company to have access to. So maybe you sync a little bit of stuff like invoices or payments into Salesforce, and that's it. So that your sales reps know that, oh, this customer has paid up, but this customer hasn't. So this is kind of common. And what we've seen is also like the fragmentation of apps across the entire like ecosystem. People want to use the best of breed, the best in class apps, but sometimes it gets a little out of hand. You get the best
because
in class.
There's so many.
Yeah, you get the best in class in this category, or like you get the best in class in CRM, you get the best in class in meeting booking, you get the best in class in chat, and then you try to bring them all together, and it goes a little crazy sometimes.
Yeah, and that's the part like where like we're talking about. Even though we have all this data, we know about the customer, but as is visible on this slide, it's scattered across at least 15 or 20 different apps. And the sales team, they live in Salesforce. They want access to that data. So I'd like to learn like what we have done internally, because that's the same problem most companies out there face as well. We're not the only one using 140 apps. So yeah, so if we can go to the next slide, I want to learn, like we talked about our lead sources, right? There is website, that we have content marketing, there like ebooks, blogs, webinars, and events that we host, and then partner like our trade shows that we visit, right? And as I understand, like for how we capture these leads, it's not all don't happen at the same speed. When I mean by the same speed, like somebody who downloads an ebook doesn't need to be responded as quickly as somebody signs up or requests a demo, right? So how do we manage the velocity of leads and in terms of when they come in and making it available to the sales team?
Okay, so there are different internal SLAs that we follow. The first one is that leads coming in from the website are the most paramount leads that we have, and they must be reached out to within 5 minutes.
And why is that?
Because when we look at the data across like a couple of years, we found that if we reach out to a lead like within 5 minutes or within a certain short amount of time frame, they basically like respond better to our sales engagements.
Okay.
So that's why we try to reach out to the leads as fast as possible. We give them help as much as we can, and then we try to get them up and running within the shortest time possible. And that's why people who sign up on our website or people who come to our website for a demo request, for example, are the most important to us. Then we have people who are looking for content, just trying to see what Workato is like. So you have the ebook people, the people who attend some webinars, some blog content, like the content that our content manager Christine puts out on the blog. Those people, sometimes they might be interested, but they're still in a very exploratory stage. So we don't reach out to them as much first. We will let them explore, and if their interest increase, then they will come to our website, and we will reach out to them in the same 5-minute SLA. Then you have the events and stuff. And for example, if you go to a trade show, you get leads, but you really don't have time to reach out to them at the floor.
Right.
Like you're too busy getting to know other people or like receiving leads at the booth that you just cannot send a proper email out to them at the point in time.
Yeah, I think you're more busy remembering the conversation,
Yeah.
logging the information than actually responding to them.
Yeah. So that is a different SLA. So we will have the leads at the end of the day. We will look at the leads and say, okay, these are the ones that kind of are very hot to us. They have expressed a big interest in Workato, and we want to reach out to them first. Then you have the somewhat hot ones that are kind of interested in the platform but not really interested yet. So we're trying to reach out to them in a different way at a different time. So the speed at which we reach out to leads is very different depending on the channel they come from. Then like the data that we get from every channel is very different. For sign-ups and RSDs, marketing refuses to give us any more information or put in any more fields on the form so that it makes it easy for the customer or the prospect to sign up. But when you go to an event, you get a little more data than what you usually get from a request for demo lead. So the different kinds of information that we get from a lead is sometimes very problematic.
So Sarah, and most companies like I've worked with, I've seen the loading the process of ingesting lead data is very batch oriented, which is like whether you generate a list of CSV, list of leads in a CSV, and then upload it using a tool, like whether it's a Salesforce tool or an external tool. And that's typically the process. So we definitely support that, and that's something we do with the event leads. But I'll not want us to talk about that. What I find fascinating is like our ability to respond in real time, right? And it's actually in getting leads directly from our website. So as people come in, the SLA that you talked about, 5 minutes, and from what I've heard from the sales folks, it's the reason people respond is, or we convert better for those leads, is people remember that they were exploring Workato, they requested something, it's right in their mind, right? and if we reach out to them in less than 5 minutes, they're often surprised that we can act that fast. So how do we do it? How do we do that?
So because of the nature of Workato's recipes, right, we actually always ask ourselves, like, if we get a CSV, why are we getting the CSV in the first place? Why can't we go to like the source of the CSV and pull it out directly from that source? And that is kind of how we started. So we used to upload CSVs into Salesforce all the time. We use Salesforce data loader, we import the leads in, and then like the leads just go in and you assign out to the reps. But then we started asking ourselves, so what if one day we don't have the time to load the CSV anymore? What if we need to make it a lot more scalable? So CSVs are not very scalable because you need someone to actually load it, or you can kind of run a recipe to do it. But what is infinitely more scalable, in my opinion, is having a Workato recipe, a Workato trigger that listens on the source of the app, the source of that information in real time, and gives you the most accurate data because you are pulling it directly from the source and not some CSV that someone has touched or someone has tried to clean. And sometimes, when you clean the CSVs, human error comes in, and the CSV sometimes is a little bit dirtier than when you get it from the source system.
Right. So can you I want to show you what does the request for demo form look like on our website, and then we can go into a little more detail into the demo side of things.
So this basically is how a request for demo form looks like on Workato now. You'd see 3 fields and nothing else. So a prospect comes here, they will fill it like, okay, their name, their email address, and what they're trying to do. So for example, I'm trying to
let's say I'm trying to integrate Salesforce and Marketo.
Salesforce and Marketo.
Yeah.
And then you request a demo and ask for a phone number. So let's put in Carlos' phone number.
Thank you.
And that's basically what we get from a phone.
Okay.
When a lead comes to us. As you know, the salespeople cannot work off those 4 fields because they have basically no information about the lead to work about except for their use case. So we push the lead into Marketo, we sync it to Salesforce, we do it.
Can we go back to the slides?
Okay. So then we do some enrichment on the leads, and then we pull it out for the sales reps and chuck it in the Slack for them. So it makes it easy for them to, get to the lead as fast as possible with just the amount of data they need.
So no, this is, you talked about Salesforce and Marketo, and one of the questions we often get is Salesforce and Marketo have a very robust integration for syncing leads, right? They're like Marketo is the center of universe for marketing ops. Salesforce is that for CRM and sales. So, but we have used a blend of the out-of-box integration and Workato recipes.
Yes.
So just walk us through, when our customers ask us, right? Instead of us saying, hey, always use Workato, there are benefits to using the out-of-box, and there are benefits to using Workato. So how did you go about, what were the considerations for making those decisions?
Okay, so we usually use out-of-box integrations for very, standardized stuff and very high volume stuff. So for example, we use Marketo, the Marketo and Salesforce connector to sync the most basic stuff. When we sync leads from Marketo into leads or contacts in Salesforce, and we sync it the other way around, we do campaign member syncs. So when someone creates a program in Marketo, it syncs over to Salesforce as a campaign, and whoever who joins the campaign in Marketo is now a campaign member in Salesforce too. So that kind of very standard integrations. We will use the out-of-box one because we think that it's a lot faster to do it that way. but there are certain limitations to it. So for example, we cannot customize the way the out-of-box Marketo to Salesforce integration works. You cannot say, okay, this field in the Marketo lead record goes to this field in the Salesforce lead record, or this field in the Marketo lead record goes to this field in the campaign member record in Salesforce. So that is a big problem because sometimes, you receive leads from so many different sources. You get so many programs reaching out to this person, you have so many touch points. But all of these touch points are really asking for different things. So for example, a request for demo touch point will ask you, okay, what do you want to do? An ebook download will not ask you for anything, but you have things like, okay, what was the ebook that was downloaded? A trade show touch point will be like, okay, what did we talk about during the trade show? And all of these are saved into the Marketo lead, but they shouldn't be saved into a Salesforce lead because these data, they are not persistent. They don't stay for the rest of that person's life. It's really a point in time kind of data point. So what we do is we sync it into the campaign member record for that lead for that campaign. And because the Marketo Salesforce sync cannot do this kind of stuff, we use Workato recipes to do it. We listen on the program, we listen on the custom field in Marketo for that program, and then we sync it over using a recipe to the campaign member for that lead in Salesforce.
Okay, and later in the demo, we have an example of lead matching where we use a Workato recipe. So tell us, like, if you go back to the other slide, which is like you registered for request for demo.
Yep.
Now, what's going on behind the scene, like in terms of collecting just very basic information about the lead, which is full name, email, and what they want to do. What do we do with that to make the sales team have meaningful conversation?
So the whole process goes something like this. Once someone hits submit on that form, it actually calls a Workato recipe in the back to take the data that we have on the form and sometimes UTM information and pushes it into Marketo. So a lead is created in Marketo if it's there, if it's not there, or if it's there, it's updated, and then we try to also tag the cookie, the Marketo cookie to it. Then we will use we leverage on the Marketo Salesforce pre-built connector to sync it over to Salesforce. But we also send out a webhook to Workato to pull in the custom information that we discussed just now into Salesforce too. Then from Salesforce, we will enrich the data because now we have Clearbit and Zoom info directly connected to Salesforce. Those things will start running, give us more data about the person using this email address. So, for example, 3D-Bash at Workato.com comes in, and then he will go into Salesforce. Clearbit and Zoom info will get more data about him from like the different reaches on the internet and put it into Salesforce. Then we will use a Salesforce trigger on Workato to pull up the lead again, and then get more data from like our product database, so that if in case he has an account with us, then we can see what kind of recipes he's running, how many recipes, what kind of usage data he has. And
so
then,
can we go into Salesforce and look at this lead, what it looks like?
Okay. Let me go to Salesforce. I think we use like 3D-Bash at Workato.com.
Yeah.
So from what we had about 3D from the form, it was basically the phone number, the email, use case, and the full name. That's it. But what you see on our Salesforce record is a lot more. So we now have like company information. We basically derive the company from the domain of his email. We use Clearly and Zoom Info to pull out more data about the company, what they do, what's the industry, how many employees they have, sometimes even what their tech stack is. And we have like, okay, this 3D guy came in from the demo request. And then you have more information about the company and the person if we can find it.
Okay. And this is the thing you mentioned about the app stack or the tech stack. It's important for us because we are an integration company. So when the sales team reaches out, knowing that this particularly uses, let's say, Salesforce and Marketo, it helps build that conversation.
Yeah.
Okay.
So even though the lead on the request for demo form says that they want to integrate Salesforce and Marketo,
right.
If we have more information about the lead, so for example, we know that apart from Salesforce and Marketo, they also use Dropbox, they use NetSuite, they use that kind of all kinds of different apps that we can help with. The sales rep can go in with more like leverage and say, okay, instead of just integrating Salesforce and Marketo, why not think about Salesforce and Zendesk, for example,
right?
Where you can pull in all of your tickets, or Salesforce and NetSuite, where you can pull in all of your finance information, that kind of thing. So it makes the conversation a lot more robust because the sales rep now can actually suggest more ideas to the prospect, and sometimes they'll be like, oh yeah, I actually haven't thought about that.
Sarang, let's dive into the product. Like, how do you build this recipe? And go slow, so I can follow along.
Okay, so where should we start first? Should we start with?
Yeah, essentially a lead comes in, right? Let's start with the Salesforce, which is the part that you mentioned. Like, what we could demo is how do you gather all this information? But there are two parts. One is that it's available in Salesforce, so the sales rep can look at it. But we also take it a step further because we use Slack heavily, and so if we present that information directly in Slack,
yep.
Right? So how do we do that? Like from, let's say this information already resides in Salesforce, and I want to create an automation that will post this information for me in Slack.
Okay, so let's say this lead or this information, this lead information is fairly built up in Salesforce. We will start from Salesforce and we can pull out a new or updated record in real time. I personally prefer this real-time trigger because when you have a 5-minute SLA to meet and you need the lead as quickly as possible. So we have it always in real time. And let's pull up our production sandbox. So we will tell Salesforce, okay, now I need a lead. And let's say I need a lead from last month all the way to today. And that's basically it. We have managed to go to Salesforce, pull out a lead from last month onwards. And then now the sales rep needs more data. So for example, the data in Salesforce is just like company name, tech stack, whatever not. But we actually have more data in, let's say, Marketo. So in Marketo, you can store more activity data about a lead. So we go to Marketo and try to pull out more information about this person. And there we go. So we internally use email as some kind of a primary key, but you can literally use everything else. You can even have the Salesforce lead ID go in and use it to search in Marketo. Then sometimes this person already has an account with Workato. So in this case, we use Intercom as a user database. So we search for the person in Intercom, we get more data about this person. And this time I don't want to use the suggestions, I want to use our email address. And now I have Intercom data. Then I also want to see if someone has already reached out to this lead. Because as a sales rep, I don't want to reach out to a lead that another sales rep has reached out to because it's a bad customer experience. So I'll go to outreach and I'll pull out okay, I need data about this person, whether it has been reached out to or not, whether this person is part of an existing sequence or not. So let's pull out the email address again. And now you see within the span of like 2 minutes, we have managed to get data from 3 different systems, 4 different systems actually. And you basically paint this very complete, enriched picture of the lead just by using 4 steps.
And we'll post this on Slack.
Yeah, then we will post this in Slack. So for example, I prefer Workato, so let's do Workato. And we will post it into, let's use our friendly report. We will post it to this channel called Sales Leads and say, hey, a new lead has appeared. Because now, we like Pokemon. So now we're gonna chuck in like data about the lead, and we have first names, or just full name, and then we can put in a quick link to the lead, but I'm not going to do that because the limitation with this is you can only put 1 link. But now that we have 4 different systems, I want to put 4 different links. So what I will do is I will actually use attachment text and put in some formatted links to the different systems. So now I have.
So while you do that, the advantage of putting these links is like as the sales rep gets this, they can directly click on the link and navigate to the page on that particular app.
Yes.
Rather than having to go through multiple steps to find it.
Yes. So we want the lead to, we want the sales rep to be able to reach out to the lead as quickly as possible, and that also means that we have to give them a very good user experience. So they need to be able to go everywhere from that Slack message if they have to, and they need to get all of the data they need in that one Slack message, so that they don't have to go everywhere. So let's see, Salesforce, and this is just a Slack API kind of formatting. So I'm actually putting a link underneath this label.
Yeah, I know we are talking about Slack here because we internally use Slack, but like if our customers use other tools like Microsoft Teams, or they want to just send an email or SMS, it should work the same way.
It works the same way.
Yeah.
Maybe they have some little quotes and nuances about how to format URLs, but it's the same. So I have then Marketo link. I think something like that. Marketo.com/lead/something.
Yeah, the fact that you remember these URLs tells me how often you do this.
I kind of remember. Marketo, and then we have intercom. So intercom wants links. IO/app/ID/user ID/video something. And finally, we have outreach. Prospects, I think. So it looks a little long in here, but really in Slack it's going to show up as just 4 links. And then we're going to make a nice yellow color for the sales rep to look at it, and then we're going to have like couple of data about the lead. So for example, I need an email address, otherwise I'm never going to reach out to the lead. Email, and then I can add in some more stuff. This one, and some basic data about the company from Revit. So I'm gonna look at company. And maybe some more data about, let's say, see, I'm looking for the tech stack, or maybe like the company industry from Reddit. And maybe, you know, if this person has a Workato account, then we'll pull in something from Intercom, like for example, what was the last location that they logged in from.
Or just what apps they've connected?
I don't know if I have it in this
Okay.
sandbox. But we have like basic location data from this person, and we can also pull in things like, oh, okay, whether this prospect is part of an active sequence or not. So that's from outreach. But I don't know if I have this in sandbox or not. Or maybe whether this person has already opted out. So we basically built this message in Slack using all of the data from every other app that we have. And then we can post it over to Slack for the salesperson to pick up. Share the recipe. Try to do a test.
And like after we're done with this demo, it'll be good to look at like how we use it internally, just what the production state could look like.
Okay.
Right.
So yeah, this is really a demo. So it looks something quite basic. In production, it really doesn't look like this. It looks more like this. So a new lead was received, and then we have actually more data of this person. We kind of structured the Slack message to look like, okay, what are the links that you can click on to find out more details about this person? What are the use cases that this person wants to go? The demographic details about this person, the title, because that's very important as to how the sales rep can structure the call. The location data, company data, person data that we get from Clearbit and everything else. So this is what it looks like in production, but what we built in that recipe just now looks like this.
Okay. So in one view, we could see like the sales rep can look at a lot more information than what was provided in the request for demo.
Yep.
Okay.
So if you remember, the request for demo only has 4 fields.
Right.
Now we have, 20, 30 different data points.
Right. So now one of this is a question that came up, which is like, I come in for a request for demo and tomorrow I'll, like the same lead signs up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and maybe I fill some partial information as we talked about, like the request for demo has name, email, and what you're looking for. And let's say the sign-up form has something else, right? Or they provided, the name was misspelled.
Okay.
How do we match that it's not the same person? Like the duplicates is a big issue. So what could you do with Workato to find out if the lead already exists, update that information, or create a new lead?
So there is this central recipe we use across all of our recipes that basically does fuzzy matching.
Okay.
But today on the demo, I'm just going to show you like the very basics of it.
And when you say fuzzy matching, it's like to choose a list of attributes, define some rules, like hey, email equal to email.
Well, fuzzy matching to us is not just something equals something. It's already something contains something or something looks like something. Because if you just use email equals something and like a combination of email and first name equals something, email and last name equals something, you may not get the person. Sometimes 3D Bash likes the concept of 3D and then he fills in 3D sometimes and 3D Bash sometimes. So you want to know that 3D and 3D Bash are really the same person.
Right.
So for example, I have a new lead from Marketo. I'm just gonna pull it up from here. And maybe we have a target list of people. Then we're gonna go into Salesforce and search the lead records for this person. I'm gonna use my sandbox again. So a very basic first step that we always do is we will use the email address to search for this person first, because emails are usually pretty accurate. So this step actually is something that the Marketo preview connector can do. It's very basic, but we can go one step further and say, okay, if I don't find this person using the email address, so like this size is 0, then I can use another criteria. So for example, I go back to Salesforce again, and wrong one. And I search for a lead using the first name and last name. First name, last name, and company name, because there can be many like John Smiths around the world. Right. So I'm gonna pull in the company name from Marketo, the first name from Marketo, and the last name from Marketo. But again, this is still a very basic search, because it's like taking the data as is and then trying to find something as is. These two steps will work. I'd say about 70% of the time. But then you have people like 3D who likes to like truncate his name. So then you add another logic in this to say, okay, if I still don't find something, so I still don't find 3D with 3D Bash and Workato or Apple, and C equals 0 again, then you can go one step further and do a fuzzy search. So in Salesforce, we use Soko to do fuzzy searches. It might get a little bit more technical in this step. So what we're going to do is something like an email, or email equals something. Or, and put bracket over here, first name contains, and then you have like your wildcards, the first name from Marketo. So what this means is that if the first name contains, and Soko users like for this, let's say we replace this with 3D. So if the first name has something 3D or 3D something, we will pull it up. But there are so many 3Ds in the world, we want to restrict it a bit. So last name again contains last name and company name. So this is kind of how we build a fuzzy matching out logic into the recipe. So we can say if I find something like an email equals something, or if I find that the first name is kind of like what I get in Marketo, and the last name is kind of like what I get in Marketo, and the company name is also kind of like what I get in Marketo, then I treat this lead as the same as that lead in Marketo. So this is a very basic fuzzy matching logic that you can use for most of your leads coming in from anybody.
Okay, so as I looked at that, so you have the ability to do the exact match, but exact match may or may not be the best way.
Yes.
So this is the way to do the fuzzy match. Okay. One question that has come up, and I think we have solved for this, but the question is, so often what happens when our customers, they would take this lead, they would manually allocate or route it to, hey, of these 100 leads, 25 goes to SDR1, 25 goes to SDR2, and so on and so forth. And maybe the SDRs don't follow up, or they are overloaded, overwhelmed, right? And then some leads get lost. So how do we solve for that? How do we make sure that all the leads that come in are actually assigned and followed up on?
Okay, so we actually used to have this problem where the leads come into us and then they fall into a black hole because maybe the SDR is on PTO or they just don't get the love that they receive. So that they deserve actually. So we've had this situation where the leads just get lost in our vast Salesforce system and nobody reaches out to them for like weeks, months, even half a year sometimes. What we've done is we use Slack and then we've built a bot in Slack to tell the SDRs, okay, are you online or not? If you're online, tell me that you're online and I can start passing leads to you. And if you have more than one SDR online, we will start to balance out the load for you guys. And it kind of scales infinitely after that. So if you have 10 SDRs or 100 SDRs, it works kind of the same way. We will see who is online at that point in time, and we will allocate leads accordingly to according to how many leads they have on hand, whether they have completed reaching out to the leads or not, or are they still working on a lead. So if an SDR is working on a lead, we will not give them too many leads because they can never finish and someone else might need a lead more than them. So we've built all of this in Workato using a combination of like recipes and lookup tables in the recipes. So the SDRs will just have to go to Slack, indicate that they're online, and that's it. They don't have to do anything else except sit there and wait for the leads.
So that was interesting. That goes into the lead routing side of things, and like how you described it, it kind of reads like load balancing for SDRs. So depending on their availability, depending on their load, like what leads they are in their queue, and even the time zone and other factors are built into this routing engine.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we ask the SDRs to manually indicate that they are online for now because we find that it's the best way to confirm that whether someone is online or not. If we can theoretically use other factors like whether they are chatting on Slack, whether they are replying to emails, whether they have calendar meetings booked on to effectively determine whether they are online. But we don't want to implement that for now.
Okay. So, Sinara, part of our marketing campaigns, right? Like in Marketo, since we're talking about Salesforce and Marketo, a lot of these leads, like SDRs follow up, and after that, like we have nurture campaigns for them, right? And the nurture campaigns would often, for example, like if somebody from finance, like with the job function in finance signed up, right? The content of the nurture emails will look different. They will be in a different segment, and the nurture emails and the content they receive will be different from somebody that signed up if they were in HR or IT or marketing, right?
Yeah.
So, but one of the challenges that we see, like as we get leads from events, from various channels, is again, the title, the job function, those are not standardized. Like somewhere it may say as simple as senior manager or SR.manager, right? Or director completely spelled or abbreviated like DIR, right? Or the titles, even the job function may be different. Somewhere it may say business analyst, and other places it may say system analyst. So I'm just saying, right? So, but for it's very important in Marketo to have a standardized category of these job functions, so we can apply the right segmentation filters. So, how do we do that?
So we do it after the lead goes into Salesforce actually. We run recipes to listen on Salesforce, and then we will run basically a machine learning kind of model on it. So what you're looking here is actually our model for determining what a job function is. It starts with what I get from the lead. So for example, if someone signs up as enterprise architect, so it follows this path like okay, does it contain marketing? If it doesn't, does it contain technology? If it doesn't, blah blah blah. And then we kind of determine what job function in this case is by like splitting the title and what it has, what kind of keywords it has. So for example, I have this guy who came in to our system, I think just now, that has the job title of application developer, and our model thinks that with an 80% probability that this person is in IT because he's an application developer, which is pretty accurate. And we do this for all the leads coming in and all the data that we get from our enrichment tools. And the recipe actually looks something like this. So we have a core recipe that lists on the Salesforce leads getting updated all the time, and then it shoots out to other functions or other callable recipes to do the calls out to our machine learning prediction engine. So we put in the model, we put in the title, and the model does its job.
Okay. And so we had created a training data sets. After that, the model has evolved. And this is super helpful because we are not sending somebody in finance, hey, how can you build your service now in Jira automations, right? So we can personalize it, contextualize it for their job function and send the right content.
Yeah. But again, this is actually, I think, the third iteration of how we've done this. We actually started by not using prediction and machine learning, but actually we used very basic conditional statements in Workato. So for example, you have a recipe that goes like, okay, I have a new lead or updated lead, and then if the job title contains director, then it flows into this thing and it says, okay, because the title contains director, I assume that this person is director or C level kind of a person, and I assign this job level to him.
Okay.
Then we found that it's not very scalable, and sometimes you get very weird titles. So we started to iterate and then build up this prediction model after a couple of tries.
Yeah, I think I've seen at other places I've worked, it's even more manual, which is people will actually go in, there are 5 or 10 people sitting, and they actually say they're given a set of rules. If you see this, actually doing it a human way. So, but given the technology that we live with, it's much faster and scalable.
Sad to say, that was actually our second iteration.
Oh, really?
So we had a couple of people basically sitting there classifying the leads.
Okay.
We had them look at the titles and then match them to what we have on our quick list of stuff. But we use the data from these guys to basically start our model.
Okay.
So they kind of validated our model and then we chucked it into this machine learning prediction service that we have, and off goes it.
Okay. So one question that has come up from our customers, it's we talked a lot about inbound, but what kind of automations are available for outbound that we do that our customers can learn from?
Okay. So for the outbound part, a common thing that we realize is that when you go out prospecting for leads, you don't really have complete data about this person. So sometimes you get the name and company name. Sometimes you get email addresses. Sometimes you don't get a lot of stuff. So what we've told our outbound SDRs is that, okay, you can try to fill in this form as much as you can. So for example, if I have the first name, and then I have maybe the mobile phone, for example. Obviously, this is not real. Then what they can do is they can use this form and tell us or get the system to get more data. So we built a recipe to run this form. To run behind this form, they can enter something here, and then our recipe will pick it up, go to Salesforce, chucks it into Salesforce, and basically have our enrichment tools run on it.
Okay. So this is like when you're on trade shows, you're on the floor, and you're meeting leads, and you just gather some information, it's a business card or whatever, and you can just input that quickly and have a recipe go out and enrich.
Yeah. So this is really I'll call this a control panel.
Okay.
Because the SDR can control where it goes just by using this form itself.
Okay. Thanks, Enrong. And I'm assuming some of these recipes that we shared are in the community. We can share that with the audience of the product hour. Okay.
So we have actually published a lot of our recipes to the community. So if you search for Workato recipes, you should find it.
Okay.
Especially our core ones.
Okay. Thanks so much, Sanrong. We are coming to the close of the product hour. This was I've seen this in action, the front end side of things, but it was good to listen to you talk about the different iterations and also actually seeing the recipe being built. I know it's more sophisticated than what you showed, but it's a good way for us to learn like what kind of automations can go outside of the out-of-the-box integrations that exist, especially around marketing and sales ops side of things. Thanks, folks, for joining us. We'll resume, like the next product hour will be on June 20th. So the topic for that, I'll just let you know now, it'll be around, again, employee lifecycle management, but automations for hiring, the pre-hire to hire process. So we'll showcase how you can use automations with Workato from a candidate selection, from deciding their compensation, and actually getting them into making them managing their offer and converting them into an employee. So there we'll walk through a set of automations that you could use with Workato. Thank you again for joining, and we'll send you the recording for this webinar sometime later tomorrow. Thanks, Enro.
Yeah, thank you.